Hello again, or if this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Siobhan, and I am going to start out by apologizing for my hair. I'm trying to wash the blue out, like I'm trying to fade it out as much as possible before I go on to the next color. And I don't brush my hair when it's wet because I'm hard enough on it with all of the extra washing funness. So I'm just gonna clip it back. My eyelids have been very dry. My skin in general is just parched, and nothing really seems to be helping all that much. This is the Drunk Elephant polypeptide. It's Drunk Elephant Proteiny Polypeptide Cream. And I've talked about this before. I used up my full size and I keep forgetting that I have this smaller size in my makeup room. I need to take it into the bathroom where I wash my face because this does wonders for my skin. And honestly, my skin is paying for me having chosen not to replace it yet and forgetting that I have this, because the reason I haven't replaced it is because I have two of these small ones and I want to use them first. But I did put that, the whole point of bringing that up is that because I had like a little dry patch on my eyelid here, I did put that on my eyelids and just here in the middle. I didn't put it under my eyes at all, and I've just given it a few minutes to soak in. I just want to mention that in case it does something weird with the eyeshadow, because I've never done that before. So let's get into the reason that we are here, which is the Natasha Denona Love Palette. In case you haven't seen this or you didn't see my previous video, here are all of the shades. It is so beautiful. Like every time I look at it, it's just a gorgeous palette. This is the ABH eye primer. If you saw my first impressions, I did say that I would talk in this video about the wear time. So I ended up falling asleep with that eyeshadow on and wore it for 16 hours. And at the end of that 16 hours, it still looked almost identical to when I put it on. It was incredible. And I would tell you that you could go to Instagram and see a photo of that, but apparently Instagram thinks that I have been giving my information to a third-party service, and they won't let me do anything until February 7th. So I'm not able to post any pictures on there right now. I will try to remember on February 7th, and I've tried to go through like their little thing, like their little report a problem to tell them. I'm really frustrated with Instagram right now because I have never given my information to a third party. I don't like do anything shady to try to get people to go and follow me, and it's basically impossible to grow organically when they punish you for liking other videos. I don't know if I mentioned this in my last video. If I did, I'm just still really annoyed by it. So, moving on. First shade that I'm going to use is First, and I'm just going to use that to set down my primer. There were some issues with blending this. There have been some issues with blending some of these shades. So I'm hoping that maybe a different primer and setting this down is going to help. I will say that for me personally, the extra time that it took to blend the shades, because in the end they did blend really nice, was worth it for the amount of wear time that I got. But that's something that you would have to decide for yourself. If you're just going to use it to take pictures for Instagram or to wear for a couple of hours, it may not be a factor for you. For the first look, I want to try and do a very like sort of lavender bright look. I'm going to go in, I'm going to go into Valentine, which is this very powdery pink shade here. And just put that starting from the outer corner all through the crease. I'm just going to use that as my transition shade. I know that I just said I was going to do a purple look and then I immediately dipped into a pink, but it's just because there's not a better way to blend this purple out. And when I blend Dream, which is that kind of lavender shade there, into this, I expect it to definitely blend this into more of a purple shade. Next, I am going to go into Dream, which is this lavender shade here. I'm going to start just packing that from the outer edge. Just these two colors together, like that's giving me very like springy vibes. You could put Dream all the way across your entire eyelid and just put like Valentine or Intense up in the crease, like up above the crease, and that could just be your look without anything else. And it would just give you a really pretty soft pastel look. Which I will definitely end up doing at some point, but because I want to use more shades, it would not make sense for me to do that right now in this video. I'm still having a little bit of an issue where I'm trying to blend it together with it being patchy. Let me try a different brush. This is my number 14, and this is just a completely clean brush I haven't used at all. Just gonna try to blend those. I'm gonna go back into Valentine. There we go. That wasn't so bad. I'm going to use just a flat synthetic brush. This is just a Sephora brush. And I'm going to go into Pure Love, which is the shade right here in the very center. That is much more pink. Like, I knew that it was a duochrome, but it came out much more pink on the eye than I was expecting. I was expecting it to lean more violet, especially with a very violet look. I'm actually gonna use my finger and see if I can just get that to give me some more shine. I'm going to take my number 13 brush and I'm going to go into Trust, which is this purple up here in the corner. I'm going to just use that to deepen this outer V a little bit. Okay, so that shade actually blended into those other shades really nicely. I'm going to go back in with my 01 and I'm going to go back into Dream and see if I can bring this up a little higher above my crease. As nicely as that blended out, I probably did not need to put Valentine down at the beginning. I'm going to go into my lower lash line with Dream. I am going to go ahead and go into Blind, which is our like silver lilac shade here. and use that for my inner corner. One eye done, I'm gonna go off camera and do the same thing with the other eye, and I will be right back. For my waterline, I'm going to be using the shade Vivid Shockwave Neon Eyeliner from LA Girl. I think these are around $5-ish. I am actually going to do the Wet n Wild Lash Renegade in Avenging Amethyst. I'm just gonna go ahead and curl my lashes. I do want to keep this a really soft look, so I'm not gonna do like winged eyeliner or anything. I have this one eyelash that just sticks like straight down. It's so annoying. The color of this mascara almost is just too close to the shade of my eyeshadow, so I just made it blend in. So maybe don't do that if you decide to recreate this look. For blush, I am going to use the Strawberry. So I'm just gonna blend these two together. I'm gonna go ahead and go into lip liner. It's just a Jeffree Star lip liner in the shade Calabasas. And then sticking with that more romantic feel, I'm making sure that I'm rounding off my Cupid's bow as opposed to making it a little harsher. And then normally, for the sake of lasting power, I would fill in more of my lips. With my lip liner, but since I'm going to be going and washing this off and doing a different look in a couple of minutes, I'm just going to do an outline. And then this is Jeffree Star Liquid Lips in Doll Parts. These do make a very pretty pastel look. I also want to say one of the #1 things that I have noticed about these eyeshadows on the pro side is that they don't crease. Like, I've done nothing to try and stop this from creasing. They don't crease, and that kind of patchiness that's happening might just be what's like holding it in place. And if you don't have hooded eyes and you don't have issues with creasing, again, that's something that might not really make much of a difference for you. But normally, by the time I'm done doing the rest of my makeup, almost everything that I put on my eyes will just have like a nice line right in the middle of my crease. So that is impressive. I will also say they went on better and less patchy this time. Like, I had a much easier time blending them over top of the ABH primer than I did with the MAC Paint Pot. Okay, so here's look #1, and I'm gonna go wash my face and we will get into look #2. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to be using the Urban Decay Primer Potion in Eden. I haven't used the Urban Decay Primer Potion in so long because I just sort of really fell in love with the ABH eye primer. And I was using my MAC Paint Pots for a while. the consistency of this is like slipperier. The consistency of this is more slippery than I remember it being. As with every look I've done, the first thing I'm going to do is use first and just set that primer. One thing that I noticed with that last look is that unlike the look in my first impressions, there didn't seem to really be much fallout. So far, the only shade I've really had fallout issues with is Commitment, and it wasn't terrible, but it was bad enough that I would recommend, if you're going to use that shade, doing your eyes first. Just because it's a dark shade and it didn't just like I wasn't able to just like swoop it away. I'm going to start out with Intense, which is this middle pink shade here. Just in the crease, and then I'm just going to go kind of straight out. So before I came in here to do this look, I was hanging out with my boyfriend, and there was this documentary on about the Hells Angels, and it's something on Discovery, and it is trash. It was so bad. I think he might still be watching it, but the guy who is like the main guy from the Hells Angels, if you don't know what the Hells Angels is, they're like a big biker gang. And the main like Hells Angels guy he uses all of these really terrible metaphors and just says a bunch of really stupid shit. He was not making the Hells Angels look like tough guys. I'll just say that. Alright, next I'm gonna go into Soul, which is the shade here. This, by the way, is just a Sigma E25. I know I've been using my rougher brushes. This is just the one that I grabbed. We also watched this little like short that had the world's tiniest cat. It was, what was it called? Oh, I'm not going to be able to remember what it was called now. I'll have to look it up. It was so cute. It's just like this little, it was like an Out in the Wild. It was also on the Discovery Channel, I think. And it was like Out in the Wild, and it's like the size of a kitten even when it's full grown. This shade, so when I very first started putting this on, I didn't think there was much of a distinction between these two shades, but actually they make a really nice gradient, with this having just a little more of like a red, where it's almost like a pale brick shade, for lack of a better way of describing it, whereas Intense is more of a peachy pink. I use Giving. I'm just gonna put down, this one is sort of the most glittery shade in this palette. Maybe Passion, but I just want to put down a little bit. This is just Too Faced glitter glue to make sure that this is really gonna pop on the inner half. And this is a very sort of peachy pink look that I came up with. And Giving is sort of a peachy pink duochrome, so it should go perfect with this. So it's going on with the brush, but it's going on patchy with the brush, so I'm just going to use my finger. And I'm just going to go in with this tiny brush with transparent. I'm going to go back into Soul and just do my lower lash line. For my waterline, I'm going to be using this Almay Metallic Eyeliner. It is a gel smooth liner in the shade Pink About It. And it's sort of like a rosy gold shade. I'm going to use the shade Intense underneath my bottom waterline on my lower lid. Just, you know, paint that whole eye bag there. I'm just going to use the Benefit Bad Gal Bang and just go in with black. This particular mascara is not my favorite like, I like how it goes on, but it transfers on me like nobody's business. So it's really good for something like this that I'm not planning on wearing for very long. You could also make this look much more dramatic by putting on like big fluffy lashes, like false lashes, and give you that whole like baby doll effect. I do really like the wand on the Bad Gal Bang, and it's awesome for my lower lashes. I just wish that the formula worked better for me. And it's definitely one of those, like, it doesn't work well for me situations, because I've seen so many people use it and have really good luck with long wear, and I just have not. This is the Wet n Wild Cushion Foundation in the shade 106A Light Ivory. This has been sitting without getting used for a while, so all of the foundation has like gone to the bottom of the cushion. If you have cushion foundation, you can always just flip the cushion over. And a lot of times people talk about like you can flip it over to get extra product. I flip mine, because I don't use it daily, I flip mine over pretty much every time I use it, because all of the foundation settles to the bottom. I could probably just store it upside down, but that just seems wrong somehow. If you want a more like light to light medium coverage foundation, this foundation is really inexpensive and a really nice option. Just sits really pretty on the skin. And if you don't like the cushion application, I am in general a fan of using a brush, and so a lot of times I just dip my brush into it. For blush, I'm going to be using the Too Faced Peach My Cheeks in Ginger Peach. For lips, this is an Essence long-lasting lip liner in Sweetheart. And I'm actually going to go from the center out. So I went just a little ways in from my natural lip line. This is very creamy. I can just sort of blend it out a little bit. And then I'm going to go in the center. This is also Essence Soft Contouring Lip, and this is Melt Your Heart. Just to darken up that center bit just a little bit more. This is something that you want to really last. It can definitely be done with stain, and you would just put a little bit in the middle and then just sort of work your way out. But this is look number 2. Okay, so look number 3. I was planning on making a very red look, and I feel like that's a very easy place to go with this palette. I want to see if I can do something coral but leaning on the orange side. As I said before, I'm going to use different primer every time. So this is the ColourPop No Filter Concealer in white. I don't think that's actually the name of this shade. Oh, it's Fair 00, aka white. So far, in terms of eyeshadow bases, the Urban Decay Primer Potion is winning. I'm going to start out with first just to set down that concealer as a primer. Wow, this brow is doing something crazy, and then this one is just like totally like every hair in place. It's very different personalities going on with my brows. I haven't done anything with them at all. I just washed my face. For look number 3, I want to try and do something that's more orange. I had really wanted to do a red look because I feel like that's a very easy place to go with this palette, but also I feel like that's a very easy place to go with this palette, and I want to see if I can get something a little more diverse. I'm going to start out again by going into Intense, which looks very pink, but really once I had pink against it, I was able to see more of an orange tone come out of it. So I'm hoping that combined with some of the more orange toned shimmers in here, that is going to bring out the orange in this coral shade. I have a feeling the outside of that did not get set as well as I intended, because you can see like it really laid down very dark there, whereas this side diffused very quickly. From there, I'm going to go into Lifetime, which is this shade here. Okay, this is not super wanting to stick, so I'm just going to go ahead and put down some glitter glue. Yeah, see, that shade is very orange. It has like an orange to champagne duochrome. Very pretty. I'm just going to go in there with Transparent, which is just this other sort of metallic-y shade here and just see if I can get a nice gradient. I don't usually do like an all shimmery look. I tend to gravitate more towards mattes. But this is pretty. And then I'm gonna try using Intense underneath my lower lash line and hope that doesn't just turn this into a pink look. On camera, I don't know how different this really looks from the last look. Looking at this palette, like if you just open it and look at it just as it is, I don't think that this palette looks like you would be able to get something that leaned this peachy out of it. It just really easy to gravitate to reds and purples. So while this is not maybe the most innovative look ever, and none of the looks that I did are really super dramatic, it does show that this is a very wearable palette, and also that you can get some more versatility out of it. This is e.l.f. and J. Kissa. It's just a brown mascara. My concealer is Lavender Color Corrector from Urban Decay. It's the Naked Skin. For foundation, I'm going to be using the Clinique Acne Solutions in shade 01 Fresh Alabaster. I do have a very recent video on this foundation, so if you're interested in knowing more about this foundation, you can check it out there. The Alamar Cosmetics Blush Trio in Fair Light. I'm going to use this shade here, which is Castaway. I had a really hard time deciding on a lipstick for this one because there are a few different ways I could go, but I finally just landed on Vibin. This is the Tartist Lip Paint. So very different look. It did end up turning out very orange, which is what I wanted, and I'm really happy with it. I really want to do a red look. That's just not going to happen in this video, and I'm sure that if you're watching this video, you've probably watched other videos for the Love Palette, and I really feel like the red look is where it's just very easy to gravitate with this palette. So I just wanted to do something different. I hope that this is something that helped to show the diversity of this palette for you a little bit. Yep, that is it. This is the look. I need to go edit so that I can get this video up because this palette is in stores tomorrow. And at this point, I have a feeling that this video will not be up until tomorrow because processing takes forever. So I have a feeling that this video is probably not going to be up until tomorrow because uploading to YouTube takes ages. Anyway, I have really, I've developed a love for this palette through this journey. Whether or not it's worth it to you is really going to depend on whether or not you're going to wear a lot of pinky and pastel-y purple sort of looks. Even red looks looking at this palette, I can tell you that I'm going to be able to do some bright red looks, but Heartbeat is the deepest red shade, and even using that to deepen up Heartbeat and Heart. So even using that to deepen up Heart, that's going to make some pretty bright shades, some pretty bright looks. So if you were to like look at my Instagram and see some of the deeper red looks that I've gotten. So just for comparison, again, staying in the higher end price point, not necessarily my intention, but this here, like these two shades, this is the Melt Cosmetics Muerte palette. But if you look at those, if you look at the ones in this palette compared to the ones in this palette, these are much deeper reds. And so if you're looking for a deeper red, you're going to want to look for something that's in those deeper tones. Or if you have a palette that has a black in it, you can use a little bit of black to try and deepen it up. I'm just trying to find some comparison palettes. So this is the Saffron palette. This is by Suva Beauty. This is another very like nice red kind of purpley toned palette. And this one is going to be much more affordable. And then staying in those sort of brighter red tones, this is the Main Squeeze palette by ColourPop. I think this palette was like $12, and then you can usually get coupons. This palette is not as pigmented as the other palettes that I've shown you, but it is buildable and you can get some really pretty looks. So just sort of some other options if you're not wanting to spend $65, especially since there have been some issues in terms of patchiness. The Muerte palette I have absolutely loved. And then also this palette, the ABH Norvina Volume 1, has some very nice, trying to open this, it's just magnetic and I'll open it too quickly. But you can get some really great red and purple looks out of this palette as well. So my final thoughts, it's great if you want to stay in that orange, red, purple zone. If you're wanting to venture out, if you really want to venture out, I would recommend something like the Norvina Volume 1 palette. The Muerte palette is great, but pricey. The Suva Beauty has great shadows. Also, it's in the other room, but Colored Rain, the Colored Rain Queen of Hearts, frequently, again, on sale. Amazing formula, and that is also a very red and purple palette. If you want to see any of those palettes specifically compared to this palette, let me know, and that way I will be able to narrow down which ones to do. I don't have a regular post schedule. I don't know that I am somebody that's ever going to have a regular posting schedule, and I know that YouTube likes regular posting schedules. I hear that other people like them. I just watch YouTube videos when they post. I don't think I know specifically when anybody that I watch posts videos, even people that are very regular, except for Taylor Wynn, who does Foundation Fridays. And yeah, I think that might be all. Everyone else, I just watch them as they come. So I will work on someday being able to have a regular upload schedule, but for right now, it's just I'm trying to record and get them up and put them out as quickly as possible. I'm trying to stay one video ahead. It's difficult. If you haven't watched my other videos, I do have chronic fatigue syndrome, and I get migraines, and I have chronic pain, and it's a great time. And so, yeah, I hope that if you're interested that you stick around, subscribe, like, all the things that help my channel grow so that I can keep doing this. I hope that you are having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are. Thank you.